Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to openly talk about a subject that has been brought to my attention more than a couple occasions, and that is the subject of video game collecting being somewhat ruined because of videos like Pat the NES Punk's Flea Market Madness, videos like mine where I do my own flea market game hunting as well as thrift store game hunting, and the numerous other channels who do that similar style format of live game hunting videos. The main theme of this particular discussion video is whether I agree with those comments. Do I feel the same way or not, and why? Well, first off, I should point out that Pat was, as far as I know, pretty much the pioneer of doing these live game hunting styled videos. Yes, of course, there's plenty of other channels that spawned off doing their own game hunting videos, and they are just as famous, if not more than Pat, but as far as I know, he was one of the firsts. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that he was my main inspiration for doing my own flea market series, even if I'm not a fan of really any of his other content. And I'm sure plenty of others also have been inspired by Flea Market Madness, and since Pat's series took off, there's been a huge influx in the YouTube world of having those similar styled videos. When I first started making them, there was a good-sized amount of people doing these hunting videos, but nowhere near as many as today. It almost seems like at this point the market has become oversaturated with game hunting styled videos, and I think because of that, many more people are getting into game collecting as a hobby or even using it as a business, seeing that you can make a lot of money if you can buy games for dirt cheap to sell online or wherever else for significantly more, that of course depending on the game. So, an example of how the gaming market has changed over the years is when I first started going to the flea markets, there was maybe one or two game resellers there. Nowadays, if I were to go to the flea markets on a busier day, there's anywhere from around 4 to, at max, I think I've seen 7 resellers there with games, and usually high prices. It is becoming much more common, but is that because of game hunting videos? Possibly. But it could also have something to do with shows like Storage Wars or Pawn Stars, because there's been more than a couple episodes where retro, expensive games have been found and allegedly sold for thousands upon thousands of dollars. Of course, those shows are horribly scripted, and who actually knows if they sold the games for whatever the amount they said or claimed, but it was still put out there that game collecting, or rather selling, can bring in quite a lot of cash. There's a lot of other factors and other outlets that also could be the reason why game collecting not only has become much more expensive as a hobby, but also more difficult in general. Would I agree that the idea of game collecting is dying? No, not really. I just believe it's becoming harder, but not impossible. I actually believe game collecting is becoming more popular than ever before, and it could likely be because of these videos and TV shows. Let's also not ignore the fact that way more people are playing video games now than in the 90s or early 2000s when I was a kid. Back then, playing video games, or hell, even watching anime, was considered to be a nerdy, geeky thing. Boy, how things have changed dramatically over the years. Regardless, much more people are playing games nowadays, so of course, the more people who are playing, the more people are collecting, reselling, and making these live game hunting styled videos. It seems like to me that because of the ever-growing popularity that collectors or buyers simply have to be more creative in how they find games. Whether it be through garage sales, pawn shops, through friends and family, maybe even coworkers, Facebook Marketplace and other apps, whatever, there's plenty of other ways to find games for cheap. Nowadays, you kind of have to go out of your way to find those good deals. Unlike before, where finding fantastic game deals or really cheap games in general happened on a regular basis. It's just not like that anymore. Another thing we need to keep in mind is that thrift stores, like Goodwill, they're very aware of game collecting and how certain games are significantly more valuable than others. So what they'll do is they will sometimes, when they're sorting through the bins, they'll pull games aside for someone to look up the value. If it is rare or expensive, they don't put those games on the selling floor for someone like me or you to buy for a couple bucks. No, they'll throw it on their auction site to make a hell of a lot more money. Thrift stores like Goodwill have been doing this for a while now. Not all of them, I don't believe, do this, but again, it happens much more often than I think any of us would imagine. Are these videos the cause of that? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But again, there's so many factors and other influences that could be at play here, and there's really no way of knowing the exact reason. Honestly, what I think is more, I guess you could say, detrimental to the hobby of game collecting is not YouTube game hunting videos or even TV shows. It's smartphones. Why is that? Well, let's think about this here. It is so stupid easy, let's say, to walk up to a seller's table, scan a game with your phone using whatever app, or even just searching up the name of the game on eBay or Price Chart, and see what the game is really worth. It takes seconds to do this, and everyone is doing it. I watched one guy on YouTube, some cocky prick. I think I talked about him years ago, and this guy, he would go from table to table, scanning games right in front of the sellers, and no matter what, he would throw insane lowball offers. Even if the game was worth $100, maybe $200, and the seller was only asking $15, this guy would only offer a few bucks for the game. I'm not going to mention his name either, so don't ask. He knows damn well who he is. Everyone's searching up values now, including sellers, because they're so aware of how easy it is to find the value of whatever it is they're selling, not just with games. Another example of this, and I've told this story a long time ago in a flea market video of mine, is one day I went to a thrift store in Frankfort, Illinois. This dude grabbed 2 carts, rushed over to the games and DVD section. He literally dumped all of that stuff into one cart, and he would go by and scan them one by one. If they were worth anything, he put them in that second cart. If they were worth nothing, he threw them right back on the shelf. That's dirty, especially when no one else is able to look at any of that stuff that he's hogging all for himself. I went and made a comment to the staff working there that, hey, he's hogging everything, and they just simply shrugged their shoulders and said there was nothing they could do. It was highly unethical, but not illegal or against company policy, unfortunately. I know that was kinda off topic here, but don't get me wrong. Yes, YouTube videos sometimes will heavily influence the gaming market. The biggest example of this is back when the angry video game nerd was hitting it off big. He made a review of a game called Fester's Quest for the NES, which was not really an expensive game at all. But when his review got extremely popular, the price of that game soared. And I'm not talking like a $10, $15 increase. The game went from like, a $7 game to $50, $60. Just because of a YouTube video. And his review for Fester's Quest was by far not the only one that had a major impact on the value of any particular game. There's been plenty of other games that he's reviewed or other people have reviewed or talked about that have severely impacted the price of whatever game that it was that they're recovering. It's a very strange trend, but it happens all the time, unfortunately. So I would love to know what you guys think about this topic. Do you feel that YouTube game hunting videos play a major role in why it's becoming harder to find great deals or even games in general at flea markets and thrift stores? Or do you feel there are other factors that are much more impactful, like how I feel about the smartphones, for example? Let me know in the comments, and if you have another topic you would like for me to cover that would make for a great video, let me know in the comments as well. I know this is a little bit of a shorter video, but I don't think it's necessary to really go any further on this topic. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.